Hello, this is Lacey from the Painted Lace here to show you how to use my Ready to Add Color and Creativity pre-printed mixed media watercolor sheets. So if you have this package, you have found some artwork ready to create. So what we have here is a pre-printed sheet, you can see it on the package, and you create your own color. So you need some art supplies to do this. Now, you've probably found this video through the QR code on the back of the package, or maybe through my website, and you found some. So this video is just some tips and tricks. Now, inside the package, let's go ahead and open it up. If I can figure out how to open it, there we go. We have 6 sheets of this paper preloaded with artwork for you to add some creativity. So we have in this pack we have some dogs. We have the poodle and the bulldog and a golden doodle. Okay, so when you take them out, it's just sheets of this 98-pound mixed media / watercolor paper. And so this paper can handle all sorts of art supplies and definitely watercolor. It can't handle a ton of water and a lot of friction when it's wet because it will kind of tear, but it's pre-sized to be a 5x7 so that it can be easily slipped into any store-bought frame that's that right size. So you can create some artwork and then frame it right away if you'd like. All right, so I've just kind of been messing around with an example just to kind of show you how this paper is used. Now, anything beyond this point is pretty much just a suggestion, just a tip, a trick to have your artwork look a little different. So, one thing that I want to mention is probably the first thing I would do is to tape down your art paper to a hard surface. So I've actually just taped it directly to this desk. You could tape it to a clipboard would be a good suggestion. A firm piece of sheet plastic of some sort, like a plastic binder maybe. So I've used washi tape here, which is a paper tape. You can use really any kind of tape. I would stay away from any kind of duct tape, but Scotch tape would probably work. Painter's tape would work. The only thing is you want to be real careful when you pull up the tape that you don't rip this paper because it's not an especially hardy paper. So you want to be very gentle when you pull up the tape. So you want to make sure you use a tape that's easily removable, and that's why I use this washi tape here. So normally you would tape all the sides. You don't actually have to do that. What it's going to do is when the paper is wet and then it dries, it gets a little wrinkly. But it's not too bad. I did one that I didn't use any kind of tape just to kind of test the paper, and it turned out fine. It was just a little bit bumpy. All right, so I'm just going to get to painting here. All I have is some watercolors. You can use any type of watercolor, and I have some pens over here and some just non-artist grade, just regular brushes. I'm spraying down my paints over here. You don't have to do that, but you do need to add some sort of water when you're working with watercolors in order to get them to work. When you're working with watercolors, if you're looking for a smooth texture, which I think we usually are, you're going to want something with smooth bristles. Anything that has a more firm bristle to it is going to make more of a textured look, which is fine if that's what you're going for. But sometimes if you're wanting a smooth line, you're looking for soft bristles. All right, and so like I said, I've just gotten these from my kids' art kits, and they're not especially any sort of professional grade. Just use whatever you have. So you want to get your brush wet. I have a rag here for wiping off excess water. You want to dip it into your paints. And if you want to test the color, you can put it on a tin that you have that your paints came with, or you can just get a scrap of paper. Any sort of paper will work. Now, if you want to add color, you could just paint directly onto your paper. If you want a diluted, flowy look, you would add water and kind of connect it to the color, and it'll flow into the water. The only caveat with this is when it's wet, you want to make sure you don't really disturb it, or it will flow farther into your artwork, which might be what you're looking for. But you can't add anything on top, like any additional details, until it dries. But just give it some time, or take a hair dryer or something, and you can have that dry. So I've added a layer here, and it has dried. So I'm actually going to go in with a different color. There's not a reason why I'm doing this. I'm just having fun. I don't actually have any design in mind. That's why I put 2 dogs in a pack, so that you could play around with one and then do one as your artwork. Now, the reason this paint is not flowing into the rest of the dog is because I have let it dry. So if you want it to dry, you can add additional elements on top. So I'm going to add a little bit of water over here and introduce a different color and kind of let them mix around. So I'm going to add some water just around the places where I want color. And this paper is purely for fun, honestly. We are not looking to be the next greatest artist. These are great for beginners. If you feel like you don't have any art skills, you don't have any creativity, but you love playing with art supplies and you like the idea of creating artwork, this is a great exercise and a great pack to get started with, just to kind of give you some experience with color and with creating. This is also really fun with kids. Another reason why I had 2 to a pack is if you had a kid in your life that maybe the kid gets one and the adult they have gets another, and you can each create a version of the same dog. All right, so yeah, I'm just kind of having fun playing around, telling you all about watercolor. Now, if you wanted to add an additional color on top of this, or if you wanted to add details with a pen or colored pencil or another type of material, you would need to let this dry. So, like I said, you can use a hairdryer. If you do, be careful that the water is gonna move with the hairdryer. So you either want to go real low with it, or you want to just let it air dry. And the more water you have, the longer it will take to dry. Another method that you can use is use a paper towel and sop up some of the water. And you can even use that to create some texture. Now, this is not going to completely dry it, but it will bring up some of that water so that it will dry quicker. And on some of these more dry areas, like in the dog itself or some over here, you can add some more details with some pens, or you have colored pencils or crayons. This is a micron pen, which creates very fine lines. This is a brush pen, which the brush end creates. It could create very thick lines or very thin lines depending on how you hold the brush. So if you wanted to create a thick line, you kind of lay it to the side. And a thinner line would be if you held it more vertical. All right. So once you're done creating your artwork, here's a little bit of gelato, which is like a stick version. It's almost like a chapstick looking thing. And I believe with this one you can use a little bit of water and a brush to move it around. It's got sort of a creamy texture to it. Move that into some of the watercolor and mix it. It's the fun about watercolors is they look so fun mixed together. All right, so if you let this dry, you can actually add more and more details on top of it. Okay, what else did I want to say about this? Oh, right. So once you got finished with your artwork, you could just pop it directly into a frame. Now you want to let it dry, and if you put it into a frame, it's, you know, it's gonna remove some of those bumps, you know, that it has when it's drying. And so I just bought a 5x7 frame, and I'm gonna pop one of these dry ones in here to show you sort of what we're looking for. Okay, so it just, the pre-cut sheet just went straight into the frame, and you'll have your framed artwork ready to go. Makes great gifts, fun way to display your artwork, and it's just meant to be fun. Have fun with it. All right, thanks.